Hello, and welcome to our next segment of Nursing News You Can Use, Nursing News and Business. I'm Tina Baxter, and I'm your host. I want to thank you for showing up here. I am in the process of learning how to use this new technology. I'm very excited to have it, and I wanted to make sure that I got a chance to record. So I am looking for the record button on this, and I saw it before the last time, but I honestly don't know where it is at this time. So let me see if I can find it. Recording. There we go. All right. So I'm going to hit record. Oh, record buttons are disabled while live. I just saw that. Okay, so we'll have the live posted, but fortunately for us, it's already going to our YouTube page, so we'll be good. All right, so this is new. So those of you who know, we were live streaming through Zoom. No, I mean straight through Facebook, right? When we started our show. And because of the changes with Facebook that were happening, it was becoming more difficult for me to download the videos to post elsewhere, which is also the reason why we changed our name to Nursing News You Can Use, which is also our brand on our LinkedIn page where we put out our newsletter because we have a newsletter of the same name. So we've changed some of that. So now we're using a StreamYard to live stream, and I think our streams will come out a lot better, and we can directly stream it right to our YouTube page. So I'm very excited about that. So it's live on our YouTube page, and I'm learning how to use this new technology. So give me some comments and let me know how it goes. So let's get started. Today is January the 25th, 2023, and our first affirmation for today, coming out of our new affirmation calendar. This one was for January 20th. I really liked it. It says, "You are never too old to start a new goal or to dream a new dream." I want to say that again. You are never too old to start a new goal or to dream a new dream. I found that one to be very encouraging as we are learning new technology this week. All right, next, challenges are what make life interesting. Overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. So that's another exciting thing, that challenges are what makes our life interesting, and then overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. And our last affirmation for today, before we get on with our What I'm Reading segment, it says, "Be somebody nobody thought you could be." Be somebody nobody thought you could be. In fact, I like that one so much. I think I'm going to use that and post that somewhere. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and give you that information. Let's jump into the What I'm Reading segment. And so this is a book, you've probably seen it, read it. It's Grant Cardone's The 10X Rule. And I happen to be attending his challenge because, I'm the firm believer that you can learn something from a lot of different people. You may not agree with everything that person says, but you can also learn from them. And what I found was interesting is, as I was reading the book, in chapter 5, he says, "There is no shortage of success. Success is not a zero-sum game. Then there can be many winners. Success is not a commodity or a resource that has limited reserves." And a lot of times we think of, well, if somebody else succeeds, that necessarily means that I won't, or there won't be enough for me. And that is not true. He goes on to say, "The creation of success can take place all over the world, either at the same time or at different times and at different levels, by millions of people who have no limits. Success doesn't depend on resources or supplies or space." And I thought about this because as I work with other legal nurse consultants, a lot of times, and what I used to think was that, oh, if I work with someone else, then it's not going to be enough business for me. But yet, and being challenged in that by my coach and mentor, Lori, we talk about those things, that there is enough work for everyone. And now, coming from that mindset of knowing that there's enough work for everyone, there's, enough of it to go around. So he says, "The notion of competition suggests that if one person wins, someone else must lose." He said, "Similarly, the amount of new products, ideas, and successful creations by these companies, meaning the Apples, the Googles, the Microsofts of the world. He says, over the past few years will not prevent others, maybe you, from generating success at even more astounding magnitude. So think about this. Before Facebook came on the scene, we had MySpace, and no one thought that MySpace would go away. Then we had Facebook, and now we're seeing the advent of TikTok and other platforms. And I'm really encouraged by someone coming and finding an idea that meets a need in the marketplace that maybe the other companies have not thought of. He says he found that most, if not all, the shortages are simply manufactured notions. Um, Funny enough, Cat Williams, the comedian, did a kind of something on this whole idea about going through COVID, and what do you call it, the Great Chicken Wing conspiracy, that there was a shortage of chicken wings, like there's a bunch of chickens running around with no wings, right? So it was kind of interesting for that, and so it's that idea that we have in our mind that there's a shortage of something, so therefore, we have to get more of it, and we keep it to ourselves. He says being dependent on only a single thing or person for success will limit your chances of achievement. It says success for anyone or any group is ultimately a positive contribution to all people and all groups, as it provides validation of the possibilities to all. So I love this chapter. It was a great chapter. It resonated with me in a lot of different ways because these are some of the things that we are thinking about and looking forward to. All right, apologize for that. There always something happens. Okay. All right, so let's get on to our next little thing, and let's get into the news. I'm going to double check and make sure that our live feed is going on. Again, this is new technology, so I want to make sure that our live feed is up and going. So let me switch to that page, and then I'll be able to see. Yep, our live feed is up and running. Perfect. Whoops. All right, so we know that to be true. All right, so let's go ahead and move on real quick to our news segment, because there's a lot of news to cover, and I want to say that there's some good news to cover, and I want to get to the good news today. But let's start off with this. Because we've been talking about the safety and security measures in nursing homes, and I wanted to highlight this, and you've probably heard about some of these things, but it says this is coming out of Los Angeles, ABC7, and it says one man killed, another injured after being stabbed at Mid-City nursing home, according to police. It says one man was injured, and another man died after they were both stabbed at a nursing home in Mid-City Friday afternoon, according to the police. The stabbing occurred at just before 4 p.m. at the Crenshaw Nursing Home on Longwood Drive, where officers found the two men stabbed, according to the Los Angeles Police Department. Police said that the victim who died was a man in his 60s, and the man who was injured is 35 years old. LAPD Detective Sean Kinkla told Eyewitness News all three people involved were residents at the facility, and investigators believe the incident may have stemmed from an argument. The suspect, who was described only as a man in his 50s, has been taken into custody, though details regarding his identity were not immediately available. No other injuries were reported, and the incident remains under investigation. Now, I point this out because, again, we've talked about safety protocols in facilities, and that made me, because this next story actually made me think about this. So we talked about the last story that we talked about of the woman who went in and shot her husband and then was supposed to kill herself but didn't do that. And that story has been out, and I'm pretty sure everyone has seen that story. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this. And then we have this next story, this sad story. This was really difficult because I'm looking at the picture here, and this is from New Jersey News 12. And it says, family grandfather dies 2 weeks after being assaulted at Westfield Nursing Home. Herman Walker died on Thursday. He had been in the hospital for just over 2 weeks after he got into an altercation with his roommate at the Complete Care facility in Westfield. According to Nalia Eden, Walker's granddaughter. She says, they told us that he got into a fight with his roommate, that he had a couple of scratches and bruises. We went over to the emergency room to see him, and when we got there, what we saw compared to what they told us, it was horrific. Eden says her grandfather was assaulted on January 4th by his roommate, 61-year-old Francisco Figueroa. Walker's face was swollen, his eyes were swollen shut, and he was bleeding from his head. According to Eden, she says, after we got there, the doctors even realized what happened to him. They said they thought that he probably fell down the stairs. That's when we called the police. According to a police report, a complete care employee checked in on the men around 4 a.m. When she returned at 5 a.m., she found Walker laying bloodied in his bed, and his roommate had blood on his hands and clothes. A spokesperson for Complete Care wrote in part, says staff followed established protocols and the matter was promptly reported to the appropriate authorities as required by state law. The matter is now in the hands of law enforcement. Police again tried getting statements of the scene from both men, but since they both suffer from dementia, they were unsuccessful. So there is a law, and this is another reason why I brought this story out, out of New Jersey. It's called Peggy's Law, which was enacted in 2017, requires workers to contact police within 24 hours if they suspect a crime has occurred in a facility, or within 2 hours if an injury is involved. Both facilities and employees face fines if they do not comply. So News 12 reached out to Complete Care a second time to get clarity on whether or not their protocols, what they are, and whether those protocols also include preventative measures to avoid similar incidents, but no one was available to answer those questions. So I bring that up because we're talking about issues of safety in facilities, and this is another yet incident that's happening in our nation where our elders are put at risk. And this is unfortunate. And maybe they followed all the protocols. And, I was rounding on night shift one night in one of my buildings, and I happened to be there and walking in to see this patient. It was after hours. It was kind of late, and I was trying to get finished up for the day. We had a long day, and it was about 8 o'clock. And I go in there and I hear, help, help, help. One of the female residents had her other female resident roommate by the ankle and was pulling her out of bed, saying she's in the wrong bed. Had I not been there, they probably would have had an incident. She probably would have gotten injured. Another case, I was working late again, and I happened to be rounding at this facility, and I walked in and found someone on the floor. They had just been lying there. And when I asked how they got there, she said, well, I decided to get up and lie down on the floor. Now, this is a dementia unit, so she didn't appear to be injured. We were able to get her back into bed. But I'm saying that these things can happen in between the short period of time that you're in there. So I'm not casting stones on the facility, right? I'm saying that we have to do more. The problem is that we often have a skeleton crew, and having been the person that works night shift before, I already know you don't have as much staff and as much people in the building as you usually do during the daytime. So you think about this, you already have a skeleton crew. Yes, you think that the residents should be sleeping, but on a busy dementia unit, sometimes things can happen. It sounds like these gentlemen might not have been on a dementia unit. They just got into an argument or a fight in the other case. So again, having adequate staffing is very important. That these are the reasons why. It's not just that it's a workload issue, but it's also a safety issue. And this is another reason why. All right. So that brings us to this article. This is coming from the American Healthcare Association, and this was published here, and it was talking about that the American Healthcare Association's long-term care jobs report has come out, and they say that nursing homes have lost 210,000 workers over the course of the pandemic. Nursing homes have less than what they had since 1994, so that's the lowest that they've been since 1994. Also in the jobs report, it says that while the nursing homes have a monthly average of 3,700 jobs over the last 9 months, at that rate, it would take nursing homes until 2027 to return to pre-pandemic staffing levels. A lack of outside funding and prioritization from federal and state public health officials has made it challenging for nursing homes to address staffing shortages and closures, as many do not have the funds to hire staff or use updated technology to streamline operations, the organization said in a statement. So, again, we've talked about how nursing homes are funded, and these are some of the things that happen. So, if you want to read that full report, then go ahead and go over to modernhealthcare.com to read that full report. But I wanted to bring those highlights out. And again, also, you remember Medicaid, not Medicare, Medicaid covers services for 62% of long-term care residents, according to a report, which amounts to 50.8 billion in revenue for nursing homes, according to Kaiser. However, we talked about before, some of that money then doesn't actually go to the nursing home or to direct patient care. And so there's a lot of things to unpack underneath here, but read the full report. And we're waiting to see what's going to happen with the President Biden and the CMS making new plans to improve nursing home quality and safety, including setting minimum staffing requirements, which I think, you know, would be nice. So to increase the staffing minimums to the recommended 4.1 hours of nursing care per resident per day, nursing homes will require about 11.3 billion in additional funding, according to an accounting firm, Clifton Larson Allen, according to reports. So there's a lot that goes into this, and I don't want to make it seem like it's simplistic, because it is not. But these are good things for us to know and to realize what's happening. So that brings up this article, because we're talking about the staffing and the funding for long-term care. So this article is talking about a policy from Washington, right? And so this is from Seattle, Washington, and the Washington State Governor, Jay Inslee, talks at a press conference, and this is reported by Forbes.com is where I got this article. So if you want to look at the article, you can certainly head over to Forbes to get it. And it says, while there's no chance the federal government will enact a long-term care financing reform anytime soon, several states are busy developing public insurance programs of their own. These initiatives could be a critical step as the nation wrestles with how to pay for personal care from older adults and others with disabilities and chronic disease. So remember, we've talked about most of the care then is directed from Medicaid, which is state run. So Washington State is refining its first in the nation public program and plans to begin collecting premiums in July and paying benefits in 2026. California and Minnesota are both exploring their own options. States that provide long-term care benefits to the very poor do so through Medicaid, but again, there's problems. It limits what recipients can do with the assistance. It still favors care in the facility rather than keeping them at home and caring for them at home. It often requires the beneficiaries to impoverish themselves, so you have what the spend down, so you spend all your money in order for you to get into on Medicaid. And so they're looking at fully funded public long-term care insurance can be an attractive alternative. So according to this, they're going to have a long-term care financing collaborative, and it's going to provide you with that insurance so that if you need to go into a facility, you would actually pay for your time with your savings, home equity, private insurance for the first few years. But after that, you get a lifetime benefit of them paying for you to be in a nursing home. Now, so there's legislation that was proposed in Washington for this, and we'll see what happens with that. So far, it hasn't gotten a hearing so far, but they're really working on pushing that. I like the idea that you can fund your initial costs with your savings. My question is, what if you don't have any of those things when you need to go in? Because obviously, maybe if you're a younger person and something happens to you, like you have a horrific accident, you may not have those things saved up, but it sounds promising on the face of it. But then the other question to me becomes, what happens to the amount of money that you can retain if you end up spending all your money in order to go on this? Would it be like Medicaid, where you only have like $51, $54, whatever it is, for you to be able to spend on yourself that you get to keep from your Medicaid dollars as a resident? And that's a monthly total. That's what you get left over at the end of the month. So that's going to be some of those questions that we're going to have, and to see what happens with that. But I thought I'd bring that out because that sounds promising on the face of it. We'd have to look more into it, but it might really help. So here's a couple of stories that I have, and this is from across the pond. So this is going to be interesting. There's a couple things happening here. So this is from the BBC News. And it says thousands of treatments lost during nurses' strike. And I happen to be talking to someone today and saying, they've had to stop some surgeries and treatments for people in the UK because the nurses' strike in England. So it says over the last 2 days, NHS England has says 27,800 bookings had to be rescheduled, including 5,000 operations and treatments. There were more than 30 hospital trusts affected, with some saying between 10 to 20% of normal activity was lost. They warned that the dispute was hampering progress and reducing the backlog. So, according to what I've seen in the last 10 years, so from November of 2010, this is when they first put this in, there were about roughly 2.5 million patients in England waiting for hospital treatment, right? So you had that wait time. And the wait time was up to 18 weeks. So at first it was up to 18 weeks. So not good, but not bad. But up to 2022, now their wait time, this according to these numbers, is more than a year for those elective things. So it says during the strike, nurses provide emergency cover, but routine care is affected. This included operations as well as outpatient appointments and checkups. Hospitals reported finding it difficult to carry out surgery because of the lack of theater nurses and staff on wards to provide post-op care. At University College London Hospital, 2/3 of its operations and procedures were canceled, and 1 in 7 outpatient appointments. So you can see that there's a big thing with the nurses. We've covered the nurses striking here in the US and also in other places, and this is going on. And so now we're seeing that the RCN, Royal College of Nursing, has announced 2 more strikes on February 6th and 7th, which will involve even more services. So this week's strikes involved a quarter of the hospitals, but in February, close to half of the hospitals will be involved. So again, I'm highlighting this because nurses are tired of the BS, actually, and we just want better staffing and better wages and to be taken care of like we should be. All right, so here is something I found equally interesting. And we've kind of covered this before. This is from GMA News Online. Okay. And it says Nursing Federation slams UK recruitment from poor nations. And this was just published a couple days ago, or yesterday, actually. So from Geneva, Switzerland, it says Britain's recruitment of nurses from poorer countries as a quick fix for its own underinvestment in the profession is a serious cause of concern, the Global Nurses Federation said on Monday. The International Council of Nurses said wealthy countries recruit nursing staff from some of the world's most fragile health systems was extremely hard to justify and perhaps should be stopped entirely. The ICN said 7 or 8 wealthy countries, notably Britain, the United States, and Canada, were driving around 80% of international nursing migration to address their domestic shortages. And we've covered this before, where nurses from the Philippines, and this is we covered it last week, nurses from the Philippines were being recruited to go over to the United States and to Germany and to Great Britain, and now this is what we're seeing. Right? So this has been an issue. And so it says one ICN chief, Howard Catton, says we are very concerned by some of the examples. He cited talks between Britain and Ghana, where London will pay approximately $1,240 or £1,000 per nurse recruited. So this is something that's been coming out. We've been talking about this. He says that in no way goes anywhere near recognizing the true value of the training cost of that nurse or the loss to the Ghanaian health system. He said when adding an experience in the field, I'd expect to see £50,000 as a price to compensate for that experience, at least, if not more than £1,000 is woefully short. And so not only are they not compensating the country for taking it, but they're really paying them like next to nothing, and which is leaving their country short of nurses. And so this is a global issue. And so this is something that I would highly recommend you read this article a little bit more. There's a lot more into it. We just simply don't have the time to go into the full article and have a full discussion on it. But this is something we've talked about in the past. We certainly highlighted that last week. So I wanted to bring that up because this is fresh and brand new that is now becoming a recognized problem. Okay. All right. So again, I said I wanted to hit some good news. So I wanted to read this story. This is one of our Nurses Making a Difference segment. This is from CBS Detroit. It says full circle moment for former cancer patient turned nurse. So coming out of Royal Oak, Michigan, a pediatric grad nurse at the hospital in Royal Oak is now giving her patients the love and care she once received as a former cancer patient herself. For 24-year-old Molly Pratt, being able to work at the same hospital that changed her life is humbling, and she only hopes she can be as much as an inspiration as the staff here was to her. Pratt said, without that cancer diagnosis, I wouldn't have found my true calling in life. And October 2014, homecoming was right around the corner, and it was the same year Pratt was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of blood cancer. She's got a lovely picture here. She said, I was focused on which dress, my ACT score, so getting the cancer diagnosis when you're 16 is not the normal thinking process. After several rounds of treatment, even relapsing twice, Pratt is now cancer-free. Through it all, she always stayed positive, leaning on the nursing staff at Corewell Health, William Beaumont University Hospital in Royal Oak. Excuse me, the new name for Beaumont Hospital. She said, I would have never thought, looking back 5 years ago, that I would have been where I am today. So I want to say congratulations to Nurse Pratt and also to Lori Johnson, who was one of her nurses who inspired her to join the field. So congratulations to Nurse Pratt, who is a nurse making a difference. And then let's go on to our next nurse making a difference. This is a nurse with innovation who's making a difference. I love this. So this came out of KECI, and it says MSU nursing doctoral student wins business competition for invention. This is wonderful. So this is from Missoula, Montana. A Montana State University nursing doctoral student won the Big Idea Challenge by creating a medical device. Riessa Overstreet is on track to receive her doctorate of nursing practice degree in 2024. So she developed a device which assists in, let's see, wait a minute. Yes, which assists in the administration of fluids or medications via enema in critically ill patients. She said she aimed to make a simple device that saves valuable time for nurses in situations where time is of the essence. So she is receiving her Doctor of Nursing Practice degree from Mark and Robin Jones College of Nursing in 2024. She invented the device called the Grav PR. So I think that's wonderful. And so her work with uh, um, was inspired, and she joined the Big Idea Challenge. And she was one of the only female entrants and the only one from the College of Nursing and to win this important competition. So it's interesting that she noted that Johnson, who is the faculty member that's working with her, noted that with only 1% of nurses identifying as entrepreneurs, Riessa's in innovative work and spirit can serve as inspiration to other nurses to develop new ways to deliver care. Riessa is perceptive to the complexities of our healthcare system, particularly in rural areas with fewer resources, positioning her to be a leader in elevating quality of care through creative, novel solutions. Her success in this competition is a success for nursing, bringing awareness to nurse-driven innovation and our role as drivers of change. And I'm going to say congratulations to her. I am so excited that she, one, made this incredible invention and won a competition, but more importantly she's highlighting that nurses, yes, we can do anything, and I think nurses are heroes and we should be heroes in our own epic journey. So let's get on to our next one, because there's so many great things that are happening. I wanted to make sure that I highlighted them all. So here's another one before I get to our last story. This is coming from Colorado University, and Colorado University nursing faculty honored for bedside manner. So I want to say congratulations to these two nurses. They were formerly English lit majors, and they became nurse midwives, and they were rewarded with the Bedside Manner Award from the UC Health University of Colorado Hospital. Both faculty members of the University of Colorado College of Nursing, Josie Berry and Suzanne Kiston, will be recognized for providing leadership on the multidisciplinary care teams with respect for all members of the clinical staff. I think that's wonderful. And so, according to Jessica Anderson, who's Associate Professor of Midwifery Services at CU College of Nursing, says this is the first time, to her knowledge, that CU nursing faculty have received the Bedside Manner Award from UC Health. So I wanted to say congratulations to them. They're wonderful. They're instructors. It says Berry was born at home to a midwife in the early 80s, planting the seed for what would become her career. However, she said she took a pretty circuitous route to midwifery. After earning her bachelor's and master's degree in English literature, she enrolled at the University of Texas, where she intended to work on her PhD. I just sort of felt like I wasn't directly impacting anyone, and I really wanted my work to make a difference, even in small ways. That is something you absolutely can do every day as a nurse. Since entering the profession, Berry has not looked back. That's wonderful. And then Kiston, who was born and raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico, attended Colorado College in Colorado Springs, where she majored in English literature while completing her pre-med requirements. She says, I grew up in a medical family and was lucky to be exposed to different models of medical care from early on. My mother was a nurse in the OBGYN clinic, and when she introduced me to her nurse midwife colleagues, I was immediately smitten. They were doing exactly what I wanted to do, providing compassionate, respectful, and empowering care around all facets of sexual and reproductive health. I found an education program that combines the RN and CNM training so that I could become a midwife as quickly as possible. Kiston lived in New York City for more than 10 years while completing her midwifery training and took her first midwifery job at Boston Medical Center. She said, I love the East Coast, but always felt the pull back to the Southwest, and I'm so happy to have landed back in Denver. So congratulations to those wonderful nurses for making a difference in the lives of your patients and getting that wonderful award. And so lastly, our last nurse making a difference. 3 local medical providers named 2023 Great Iowa nurses. This is awesome. So it says 3 local medical providers have made the list of 2023's Great Iowa Nurses. Recipients are chosen based on their contributions to the nursing profession, commitment to patient care, leadership, and mentoring of younger professionals. Recipients from the area are Cassandra Newman of Audubon County Memorial Hospital, Christina Wordhoff, St. Anthony Regional Hospital, and Jamie Whoopker, Webker, Carroll County Ambulance Service. Um, These 3 are among the only 77 Iowa nurses selected for the recognition in 2023 and will be honored through a virtual ceremony planned for February the 15th. The Great Iowa Nurses Program was established in 2004 at the University of Iowa and continued until 2022. It was reestablished in 2022 with support from the Mary Greeley Medical Center in Ames. So that's congratulations to those 3 nurses and getting their kudos from their place as well. So I want to say thank you to that. So that's our news segment for today. Um, I'm very glad to have gotten through all of that. I know that's a lot of news to cover, but I wanted to share the happy things. It's not always about the things that are happening, but the happy things. So I do have some. Hi Neva. Thanks for hopping on. I love to see the comments. So there's some things that are happening, and we've got some things coming up for February. So I'll be posting those in our comments for our Nurse Shark Academy and our Baxter Professional Services page. There's a lot coming up and a lot of things that we're doing. As always, I'm also looking for nurses. So if you know nurses that have their own business and you know nurses that are leaders out there in the community, I need to get them on the show. I need to get them on our show and have them highlighted because I want to talk to the nurse next door that's doing her thing, that's out there in the business. And so I don't think that there are I know that there are more than 1% of nurses who are entrepreneurs. So I want to highlight you and let's change that statistic so that we can all understand that whether we're in a for-profit or nonprofit space, whether we're working on a side hustle, we are all entrepreneurs and I want to highlight and spotlight you. All right, that's our end for today. Let me know how things are going. I'm glad I'm able to see some of the comments today. That was great. So please like and share our videos. Go to our YouTube page and also like and share and comment over there. I want to grow our page and give you more great content. And if you have news stories that you think I should highlight, or you know a nurse out there that's making a difference, let me know so that I can highlight them and maybe we'll bring them on the show. And you don't just have to listen to me. Maybe they'll have a chance to share with you. So I thank you for that. Have a great rest of your evening. Goodbye for now.